Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. Thank you for joining us. It is a guilty verdict for disgraced Hollywood film mogul Harvey Weinstein on 2 counts. After 5 days of deliberations, a jury found Weinstein guilty of criminal sexual act in the 1st degree and rape in the 3rd degree. He was acquitted on more serious charges of predatory sexual assault. 6 women testified during the Manhattan trial, which began in January. The charges related to only 2 of them. More than 80 women in total have accused Weinstein of sexual misconduct. The push to hold him accountable was widely seen as a turning point in the Me Too movement. He now faces up to 29 years in prison. Weinstein has denied all allegations of non-consensual sex. CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman joins me now. Hi, Rikki. Thank you so much for being here to help us break down these convictions. Explain to us, he was convicted of 2 of the 5 charges against him. Explain to us the 2 he was convicted of.
He's convicted of criminal sexual act in the 1st degree. That's on Mimi Haley. And what that was oral sex that was forced. That penalty, by the way, is the same as rape in the 1st degree. It is 5 to 25 years. It is a very serious conviction. He was then convicted of rape in the 3rd degree on Jessica Mann. That is a rape without consent. It is not a rape by forcible compulsion. So when you have that charge, that's a probationary charge, or it could be 1.5 to 4 years, which gave you that total of 29.
So when you're looking at rape convictions in the 3rd, 2nd, or 1st degree, does it have to do with varying degrees of violence toward the victim?
And various degrees of violence balanced with the whole issue of consent. And here, this is without her consent. That is not to say that it is insignificant.
Right.
You still have a 4-year count. It still is a felony.
But the most serious thing that he was convicted of is criminal sexual act in the 1st degree.
Right, which was forced oral sex.
Okay, so we know that he was cleared of the most serious charge against him, which was predatory sexual assault, correct? What do you think the jury was grappling with? Because we know they took 5 days to deliberate over this. We know that they had some difficulty here. What do you think the jury was grappling with in this charge in particular?
With this charge in particular, they obviously were grappling with Annabella Sciorra. Annabella Sciorra gave testimony about something that happened in 1993 or 1994. Now, this is not to say that they found her totally not credible. It is to say that they felt that the prosecution did not believe her in all of the detail beyond a reasonable doubt. There were other witnesses who testified to corroborate her testimony. Then the defense brought forth witnesses to dispute her testimony. And all in all, the jury also reaches compromises. So we don't know what those compromises were. The jury took 5 days, but they didn't take all 5 on Annabella Sciorra. The jury, through its foreperson, was very deliberate, because what they did was they asked numerous questions and readbacks, calling for readbacks, dealing with the witnesses and with the alleged victims in the order in which they occurred. They never asked for a readback of Jessica Mann, so they were satisfied that although this was without her consent, they would not go as far as to say it was forcible compulsion. So what they did get stuck on for a long time was Mimi Haley and Annabella Sciorra.
Interesting. So what does all of this mean in terms of prison time that Weinstein could face? Will his age and health condition be taken into account?
Sure, everything is taken into account. You have aggravating factors and mitigating factors. He has now been remanded, so he is now out of the courtroom and going to the jailhouse cell. He will be brought back for sentencing on March 11th. What happens is a probation report is filed, which gives a recommendation. The defense will give a recommendation, and the prosecution will give theirs. You have to remember that this is a judge who has heard the evidence from 6 accusers, not just these 2. So that will go into his consideration as well. This is a judge who is someone who has been very harsh with the defendant and the defense lawyers. So I would expect that the judge is going to give him a very serious sentence. And when you start with a minimum of 5 and go up to 25, with Harvey Weinstein's age and condition, his physical condition, any sentence for him is probably close to a life sentence.
Now, we hear from our reporters there that Harvey Weinstein was apparently shocked. His defense team says that he was shocked at this verdict. They are shocked. Do you know what their plans are to appeal?
They will appeal. They have a myriad of issues to appeal, without any doubt. I mean, they have preserved issue after issue during this long period of time since the case was brought. They do lose some of their issues because predatory sexual assault, both of the counts of that were acquittals. So they have to look with the primary counts. That cuts some issues in their appeal. But one of the things that certainly stands out is that Damon Sharonis, one of the defense lawyers, moved for a mistrial countless times. I haven't counted them. I lost track somewhere over 22. But those motions for mistrial are there specifically to preserve the record for appeal. And one issue you can definitely count on, which certainly people who have followed this case know about, and that is juror number 11. Juror number 11 is a woman who is a novelist. She has a novel coming out. There were allegedly discrepancies between what she said the novel was about and what was written on the web. Then there was another brouhaha with her about her reviewing other novels online, and each of these had to do something with an older man and a younger woman.
Right.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg for their appeals. Let me also just go back to your question about Harvey Weinstein being shocked. His lawyer's job, as of every day during deliberations, was to prepare him for the possibility of a guilty verdict. And as of Friday, when the jurors had said they had reached a verdict as to 3 counts and not as to 2, the lawyers had an obligation to prepare him, and I know this will sound flip, but I don't mean it as flip, but an obligation to prepare him to bring his toothbrush. Because that's what we used to say, that to clients, that you have to be prepared to bring your toothbrush, because there is a possibility that you will be convicted, especially for where they were on Friday. There really could not have been any other reasonable explanation for where they were hung and where they were settled.
And of course, he still faces those charges out of Los Angeles. We have yet to see how that will play out.
And those are going to be prosecuted, bet your bottom dollar.
Right.
You have a district attorney who is running for re-election, and a great part of her campaign is to go forward with these cases.
Rikki Klieman, we thank you so much for joining us. As always, your expertise is indispensable. Thank you so much.